Hello and welcome to this lesson, working with appointments and tasks. We still have a few people appearing and coming into the meeting, so I'm just going to wait just for a moment while everyone comes into the meeting. Well, hello and welcome to this lesson, working with appointments and tasks. This is part of our course, Sage CRM Fundamentals, and we are now going to be looking at the topic of working with appointments and tasks. You can see that this is building on some of the previous work that we've been doing in this course, looking for records, building groups of records, as well as entering, of course, the data into the system that we're going to be using when we're linking communications, meetings and tasks with parental companies and contacts. So we're going to continue and look specifically at how to work at appointments and tasks in this lesson. And all of the lessons that make up this course can be found on the Sage Training and Support YouTube channel. The QR code that you can see here will take you straight to the current list of course materials linked to the Sage CRM Fundamentals. We're going to be demonstrating live from the product, so I need to jump across now into Sage CRM, and you can see that I'm going to log on as a demo user called Susan May. Susan May is a North American sales manager, and so the data reflects her role. You can see that I've logged on into Sage CRM. We're looking at the dashboard, and what I want to do is to start that process of looking at now the creation of, well, perhaps looking at a different view, looking at what we have here, which is her calendar. So this is the calendar tab. By default, this shows pending items, and it's a mix of appointments, which are the meetings, and tasks that may be time bound. So things that are time bound will appear within the calendar. That's time bound is something with a very clear start and end time. If I look to the top right of the screen, you can see that there's a different way of viewing the calendar. So I can either view the calendar either by day, week, month, or there's also the agenda view and tasks view there as well. But if I look at perhaps the agenda view, we can see here that the agenda view is a feature that allows users to see a list of their scheduled appointments and tasks in a chronological order. And so this view is all about providing a streamlined and organized way of reviewing upcoming activities. Essentially, the idea behind this is to make it easier to manage and plan your schedule effectively. The agenda view is particularly useful for users who prefer to see their calendar events in a list format rather than a traditional calendar grid. But you can see if I click back and I look at the month view, this is one way of looking at the information. You can see there the broad set of what I've got coming up then in the course of the work that I'm doing. Now I can also filter the display to focus on specific types of calendar activity and whether they are of a particular status. So, for example, I can change this to look for pending, in progress, or completed activities and where they fell within the calendar view. Now, you can notice that I've put a filter in here, and it's making sure that I'm only looking at the upcoming meeting. So I've deliberately excluded any of the time-based to-dos or tasks that I have to do. But I'll click on the task list, and you can see here that I now see all of my pending tasks. But it may be that I don't want to just see the tasks that are pending. I may want to see the tasks that I should have done, but I've not yet done. So there is a checkbox that I can use to show my overdue tasks. In some respects, I think this is a much more useful thing to be able to show all of the work that I have to do as a user. And you can see that in this particular case, I still have lots to do, all with particular times that they should have been done. Now, if I um, have done a task, I can manage this very, very easily by using that little checkbox icon to just click on it with my mouse, and it will mark that as a completed task. So if I click here now, you'll see that the list shrinks, and I've managed to mark the task as completed, and so that list changes dynamically accordingly. Now we can also see that this is a grid view, and there are hyperlinks to different places. So I can jump across to look at the task itself, or I can look at the person record, or I can look at the company. Not all tasks are necessarily going to be linked to parental items. We're going to be seeing that in a moment. But let's assume that we understand this idea that our view allows us to hyperlink to where we need to, but we also see that this particular view of our tasks allows us to add tasks very quickly into this agenda or task list. This idea of adding tasks is just so that I can enter what I need to. And here you can see I've dropped in a note about my laptop. And if I click now the add, you can see that the quick task allows me to add a to-do, and it's always of a task of the type it's always a task of type to do, but you'll also see that it isn't linked to a specific company or person. It's just a personal to do action. And that's a very useful way of being able to drive, if you like, the reminder lists of the things that I'd have to do on a day-to-day basis. If I click on the agenda, you can see that the task that I've just created appears on the agenda, but it doesn't show on the calendar because it's not time bound. If I go back to the agenda, you can see that there as the to-do that I had to do. And if I go back, we can see that again it's absent from that because it's simply something that has to be done. It isn't anchored in a particular date or time. Now, if I am looking at the calendar and I double click, I can start to create a time-bound appointment for myself. Now, again, this is a quick way of adding a placeholder into the diary, but it's only going to be focused on the time and the task, the simple subject that we enter in here. It's not going to have any description. It's just a quick way of me allocating some time to reminder that I have to do something. For example, here I'm after the fruit that's in the kitchen. So that goes into the calendar. This is an appointment, so it's scheduled for a specific date and time, but this is not linked to a company, person, or another context. If I think about what's coming next, or think about what I need to do, all of these different tasks may or may not be linked to the context of a person, company, or an opportunity. Here you can see on my calendar, this particular meeting highlighted is linked to a company and a person. And so that's a particular way in which I can then from here jump across and look at the details of the context of what that particular meeting is about. Let's have another way of looking at the work. Here, I've clicked on the calendar list tab. So all the work that we've been doing so far has been within the My CRM menu. So it's my CRM menu, looking at the calendar, looking at the calendar list. And the calendar or calendar list is one of the default things that we could come straight into with our preferences to say, this is where I want to work. But the calendar list is another way of displaying all of the activities, the appointments and tasks that I have on my agenda and calendar. And I might want to see here that I've got both the quick task that I created and also the quick appointment that I added. So everything is showing up here within my calendar list. And you'll notice as well, as we look at this, the calendar list can be filtered and ordered by the column values. So this is a very useful way of being able to quickly find information. In this particular case, you can see that the default is so that that we are only looking at pending items, and we're also only looking at the items of work, the communications that are in date order. But let's start to look at how we can work with appointments and tasks that are linked to companies and persons. And I'm saying that it's linked to companies and persons, but in fact, I'm going to start thinking about how they might be linked to another entity as well, such as the opportunity, or in fact, how they could be linked to a customer care issue, for example. Now, in this case, I'm going to switch across to a pre-existing opportunity. I've opened up my recent list and I'm going to click on one of the opportunities. And you can see I've come down into the 100 user licenses associated with the company Eurolandia and the contact Kieran O'Toole. So this is the opportunity summary screen. We can see that there is a tab there called Communications, and I can click on Communications, and this will show me any of the appointments, the tasks associated with this particular opportunity, as well as they're also associated with the because it's for an opportunity linked to a person and a company, they are also linked to that person and company as well. So you can see that this is he's got an existing communication that is pending. There may be others that have been spoken to about and completed as far as this particular sales opportunity is concerned. But if I look over on the right hand side, I could actually go and change that by looking to see using the filter box to be able to go and filter whether I wanted all communications or so away from status to all statuses to just completed items or whatever I wanted to filter it to. And you can see that as well that I've got again on the right hand side a whole set of different actions which allow me to perform tasks. With those idea of new task, new appointment, new email, for example, they'd all end up ultimately as a communication within this tab as an appointment or as a task. But here you can see I can also use the standard new menu to create appointments, tasks, and communications within the context. And again, it's important to understand I'm looking at the opportunity. So the work would be associated with this opportunity and the parental company and person. I actually chose there to start creating a new appointment, and you can see what I meant about that contextual information, because in the regarding area at the top of the screen, we can see that the record is associated or going to be associated with the company and the person and the opportunity. So this is a way in which a communication screen allows that association with the parental record. Now the other fields need to be completed, and you can see that I've filled in the details for the meeting. And you'll notice that I have also picked a start and end time. And there's a little checkbox there to indicate that I want to send a reminder message, and I can determine exactly when I want my reminder message to be sent out. How reminders are sent out down to configuration of partly user preferences, but mostly to do with the underlying escalation rules, which are part of the workflow and automation tools of Sage CRM, to indicate whether we want to send out standard escalations in the form of SMS messages, text messages sent to your phone, whether to display within Sage CRM to indicate that you want to have a bell, if you like, ring inside CRM to alert you to something, or in fact to have an email sent to you as well. Different mechanisms can be used to alert you around the start of meetings. And if I uh, start thinking about this, you see that I've done a search for another user within Sage CRM called Kylie Ward. Now I can add a colleague to the meeting. This is another Sage CRM user. Now inside Sage CRM, that user can actually be another human being, someone who logs on, or it can be a resource. Now, users are resources are special users in Sage CRM that can be associated with communication records, but they never log on to Sage CRM, so they don't consume a license. So the type of thing that is a resource would be, for example, a room or a piece of equipment, or they could be an external contractor. And anyone involved in the meeting, any resource that has an email address, for example, could be getting alerts and notifications about that. Now, if I uh, drag down the page a little bit, you can see that because I've added Kylie Ward in to the meeting invitation, you can see that I've got a meeting planner which is allowing me to check the availability and potential clashes for my users. So here, this is a very useful thing before I can go back up to the top of the screen and choose Save. So that's saved. And what I've got is an alert triggered showing me in the notification area that I now have a reminder for the support and training arrangements meeting. So that's twigged, and you can see as well that the meeting has also been set up and appears underneath the list of communications associated with the opportunity. Depending on my settings, that alert could have been just on the screen, or it could, as I said, be sent as an SMS message or as an email. And if we had also set up Exchange synchronization, so if my Sage CRM system is using the Exchange synchronization feature, then it would have automatically been synced to those users' diaries. And if Exchange isn't being used, perhaps a customer is using Google Mail and an invitation needs to be sent to both the customer and internal participants, then this can actually be achieved using something called the Quick Cal component from Sage, or it can be used using a third-party ISV solution. Now, if I click into one of the listings there of the appointments, I've come in and clicked in to, although it appears that there are two versions of this, there is actually only the one. It's just because the list is showing Kylie Ward and Susan May, the two users. I've come in to look at the meeting again. This is so that I can come back, edit it. Maybe I want to complete it. I could add in what's called an external contact. These are people who exist primarily as an email address and are unknown within Sage CRM. And you might get the external attendees if the meeting has been synced from Exchange into Sage CRM, and there may be other people, unknown contacts inside Sage CRM who would appear as an external attendee. If I look down, and you can see that this is here on the status area where I can mark the appointment as completed and add any additional notes if needed. And so if I look down to the bottom as well, if, for example, we've had that meeting and we've identified that there are some actions that need to be done, here I could create for myself a follow-up task as well. So I can create a follow-up task, and if I scroll up to the top of the screen, you can see there I need to mark that again as completed and then save this. This starts to be created as a task. It's not an appointment. It allows the user to record actions. So these are to-dos that need to be done as a result of the meeting. So we need to fill in the details. I can put in additional properties as I like, as reminders, for example, if I want those. But if not, I'm just putting in the details and I'm dropped it into the meeting. Now, this task is showing in the list. You can see that the original meeting has disappeared from the list, and that's because I completed the meeting. So the meeting had been held. The task now is in the list because we've set it up as the follow-up action. And if I click to the level of the company, so up in the top part of the screen where it's got the name Eurolandia, I follow the hyperlink to Eurolandia. I've looking here at the communications tab for that company. I can see that all of the communication records, now I can see all communication records here, but in this particular case, these are filtered, so it's only showing the pending ones. And you can see that the newly created task is shown here. Now, we're not just in the context of the opportunity anymore. So all of the appointments and tasks associated with Eurolandia, which might be associated with customer care issues, they might be associated with opportunities, are shown here as well. And you can see over on the right-hand side of the grid that there is a column to indicate what that particular communication is about. So you've got an indication to show that that this is about a sales opportunity, because you've got that little chart icon showing in that about list. If I now go and look at this, I'm going to return to the calendar list, and we can see any tasks and appointments that we have created listed here. And you can see that the follow-up action that I created is also shown here inside the calendar list. Once I created the meeting, once I finished that, it appeared here. What I can also do now is I can start to think about how we might want to set up a set of records associated with a group, where we might want to schedule rapidly some tasks associated with a group of records. Now, I've come into the area for the groups. We were looking at the creation of groups in the last lesson. Here you can see that I've got a number of different items. I'm going to choose the all New York-based contacts to invite to an event. So I've clicked on that. So we've got an e-marketing event starting to take place. And what I want to do is I want to make sure a task is carried out to be able to invite all of these people to the event. And to do that, I've clicked on the new task, and now I have a very interesting screen showing a batch set up against a group of tasks. Now, this might well be involving several members of staff, or they could be against a particular team. But here, I'm going to think through and create an invitation telephone call to be done. I'm going to be calling it a to-do, but it could have been marked as a phone out task. And this also allows me to think about how I'm going to spread the work. Now, there's only Susan May involved in this call. It's a relatively short list, but you can see that I'm able to start deciding how many items per day from this list I need to put into my diary. You'll see there's the number per day to be done. There's what's called a broker rule, which is if you've got several people or a team involved in this, is how will it be distributed across the team. A round robin is everyone gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as they, if you imagine handing it things around in a circle. If the other mechanism is to say, well, you've got 5, then you've got 5, then you've got 5, and it's not quite as evenly distributed. The round robin rule is to make sure everyone in turn has a task. But I'm going to choose save. It's warning me that it's just about to create these 36 tasks spread across 5 a day. So it's going to be seven, um, uh, 7 days worth or 8 days worth of tasks. And here you can see that it's seemingly done. The way in which to prove that this has been done is actually to go across to look at my calendar and to look at where I've got a view of my tasks, and you can start to see at the bottom where it's starting to drop into into my task list the different calls that I have to make to those different contacts from within the group. So what we've seen in today's lesson is that we have seen how to work with tasks and appointments. We understand that appointments are scheduled for specific start and end times, that the appointments will show on the calendar list and agenda view, and that the reminders can be set during creation. We've also seen that to-do list items may have optional due dates. They'll appear within the task list and agenda, and optionally within the calendar if they have start and end times, both start and end times. And reminders can also be set during creation as well. All of the lessons will appear up on the Sage Training and Support YouTube channel, and you can find that as reminding you here through the use of the QR code. And what we'll be doing now next week is we'll be starting on to, again, work with groups of records, individual records as well, to be able to see how emails and documents can be sent out, how we can start to work with the different entities of the system, such as customer care, leads and opportunities, and then starting to think about the process for sales users who have to create and escalate sales forecasts. Let's see if anyone has got any questions now. Well, I'm going to say thank you very much, everyone, for coming along to this lesson. I look forward to seeing you at the next event. So thank you very much and goodbye.